Hi, welcome to Beyond the Map, a podcast about travel, self-discovery, and the beauty found between destinations. I'm Francesca Page, and each week we'll explore the meaningful moments, mindful rituals, and hidden details that make every journey a little more human. Hi, Laura. Thank you for being here. I know we teased you coming onto the podcast before. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to tell you right at the gate, I want you to tell everyone about your book. It's very relevant given what I talked about last week and also Mother's Day coming up. So please tell us about your book. Let's start with that.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I couldn't be more excited to be here. The book has been a labor of love, something I've been working on, honestly, for over 15 years because it started with my own personal journey.
Yeah.
And seeing what I went through personally and how hard it was to become a mom, my mission has been sometimes it's a dark path becoming a mom.
Yeah.
And if I could be a lamppost to light up that path or a bench when someone gets tired to make it easier for the woman that's coming after me. So my book is called Pretrimester because my mission is to shift fertility from reactive, waiting until there's a problem, to proactive. What can we do to get ahead of this? We need to shift. What can we do to prepare our mind, our body, our spirit, our lives for motherhood?
Yeah. And as you well know, and I kind of have shared a little bit with my audience, it's been a weird and distressing journey trying to get to that place. And I think it's really confusing and sad that there's so many women that just don't know where to go, don't know who to turn to. As I explained to you earlier, like, with all due respect to men, women are the only other, they're not going to get it. It's a difficult journey. I myself have come to the conclusion that I probably will not have kids again. And I love that your book touches upon that, the struggles that women like us go through. And it's not just physical, it's psychological as well. So talk to me a little bit about that.
So that was something that was really important to me.
Yeah.
There's other fertility books on the market. I know they're written, most of them are either written by men or they're written by physicians that are already infertility doctors. So they're going to come from all their biases and everything that they're coming with professionally. And my goal was really to be that friend that's experienced everything, as long as all of my experience as a women's health physical therapist. So I'm coming from the body and from being a practitioner, but also someone who's truly lived it.
Yeah.
I'm talking on the subject of men. So few people realize that 1/3 of infertility is caused by male factor. 50% is a combination.
Yeah.
And women, unfortunately, are bearing the brunt of all of it.
Yeah.
We are the ones that are staying up late at night. We're the ones that are worrying if it's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
And most of the times, yes, there's a supportive spouse in most situations, but they're not the ones that are staying up late at night while worrying about what's going to happen. And they're also not the ones that are being poked and prodded and tested every single month and worrying where the journey's going.
Well, so this is an interesting question. Where do you see the fertility journey going in terms of moving forward with women? Because, we talked about the fact I was on birth control really young and then kind of went through a whole roller coaster of stuff. Where do you see it going? Because I think there's a lot of unanswered questions.
Absolutely. I hope to see it going to a more preventative space.
Right.
The way that menopause was a conversation that no one was having 10 years
Yeah.
ago, and now it's finally hitting the headlines. And perimenopause, so the decade leading up to menopause, is finally getting the attention. Well, the same with fertility. Women in their 20s and 30s should be getting educated on all the things that they could be doing to improve their fertility or preserve their fertility. What tests should they be having more proactively? Should they be on birth control until right before they're trying to get pregnant?
Yeah.
For me and many other women, we thought we were just going to get off the pill and then magically the next month we would get pregnant. And honestly, that's not the way that it's happening.
Yeah.
For us, it took a really, really long time. So I'm hoping the conversation is changing into a more preventative space.
Yeah. As a mother of my daughter's 7, but at some point, I'm going to have that conversation with her. And I'm scared, honestly, because while I want her to protect herself, at the same time, I'm I don't want to see her go through what I went through, which is just a roller coaster of hormones, which just doesn't make any sense to me. And I think the more that we can educate young women on these are the options. And I kind of felt in our generation, I was a guinea pig. of try this, try this, try this, try this. And it was scary, honestly, but I just took it and now that's the solution to,
Been a lot of gaslighting.
yeah,
So we were told you don't want to get pregnant, get on the pill. You have bad acne, get on the pill. You have
yes,
menstrual periods, get on the
good
pill.
pill.
And the pill became this catch-all for
Yeah.
it was going to solve all of your problems.
Yeah.
But for me having stage 4 endometriosis, my experience with the pill, it was masking all of those symptoms. So I didn't know I had endometriosis until I was already in the thick of my infertility
Hmm.
journey. So many women that have PCOS, that have endometriosis, are their all of their symptoms are getting suppressed until they actually go to try to get pregnant, and then they're hearing these terms for the first time,
Yeah.
where all that time they could have been managing their hormones, managing it with nutrition, instead of just being told, I'm sorry, this is our only option, is to just get on the pill.
So again, what do you see as the solution for this? I mean, I think you've said to me before in our conversations with everything I've gone through is advocating for yourself. I think that's a big one. Um, here's a good question for you. When it comes to kind of coming to acceptance of the fact that it may not happen, and I do think that's a really difficult struggle that no one talks about because to your point, you don't want to be gaslit. You want to, I kept looking for one conclusion after another conclusion after the other to just be like, here, the door is like, why does no one give you a percentage? Like, here, this is the percentage. You do with it what you will. I didn't get that. And I kept looking for it. And I think that's really something that's difficult because you want to be told, okay, here's your percentage. And then you can kind of come to terms with it, grieve it, and be like, okay, it's not for me and make that judgment call.
So many things there. We were talking about the prevention side of preconception and fertility, but getting into the weeds of the grief.
Mhm.
And the last section of my book is all called inner work.
Okay.
And I wanted that to be the end of the book when you're ready for it.
Yeah.
Because if you're just new and you're starting out and you just want the information to prepare yourself and your body and your environment, great. But in reality, so many women like us struggle.
Yeah.
And what happens when our timeline shifts? What
Yeah.
happens when our vision of our family shifts? What happens when we have to have those tough conversations with a spouse, with a partner, with a mom, with a mother in law, when we're like, look, this just isn't going to happen?
Yeah.
Because there's so much grief going on when it comes to infertility, and that portion is absolutely not talked about enough.
No.
The grief of every single month getting your period and knowing that it was a missed opportunity. The grief of my kids, I thought they were going to be close in age, and now the gap keeps growing. Is my son only going to be an only child, or am I ever going to be able to give him a sibling? So some of it is really just bringing attention to that normalcy of saying, it's okay that you're feeling all over the place. It's okay that you're grieving something every single month, even though somebody else doesn't see that.
And it's crazy. Like, when I launched my podcast, I had this event where we kind of sat down and talked about it. I know you went there, but we talked about, and I looked around the table and I was like, there are so many women I'm looking at. And that is like, I have bar probably 2 friends that have not gone through this. I don't even want to feel sorry for myself because I'm like, you have all been through this. It's scary.
We shouldn't have to accept that as normal. This shouldn't be our new normal that this many women have to struggle. Women are just taught, and that's why this is the first time that menopause and perimenopause are being talked about. I'm sorry, like our moms, that's not that long ago that we should have been having these conversations.
No.
So for so many women to have to be going through this, when I was starting to share my struggles 15 years ago, it wasn't talked about.
No.
And it was very taboo. And since I didn't have anybody, I wanted to be a voice sharing it and saying, at least if I could help one other person know that they're not alone on this journey, then that's what matters.
Yeah.
But in the same regard, because there's becoming so many people sharing their journey, you don't also want to say, well, everybody's going through, why is it so hard?
Yeah.
Or just painful periods is just something that women go through. There still needs to be the attention and the solution.
Mhm.
Like 1 in 9 women deal with PCOS and endometriosis, but we're not any closer coming up with
A solution.
a solution,
Yeah.
medication, treatment, anything like that.
Yeah.
So just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal and doesn't mean it should be accepted.
And what would your recommendations be? I know you speak about this in the book, I'm sure, but like in terms of preventative, in terms of preventative ways of dealing with this, I mean, you've mentioned there's microplastics, there's a bunch of different effects, that now we didn't have back then, back when our parents had my mother had 6 brothers and sisters. Like, it was no problem getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Now we actually have to work at it.
Yeah, we just thought once we stopped trying not to, we thought it was so hard too. We thought it was so easy to get pregnant. So we were so much more concerned about preventing.
Yes.
And I think one of the first things is women learning about their bodies. Like, they're looking at getting your period as being your 6th vital sign. So we look at our heart rate, we look at our blood pressure, we look at these different things, and we should look at our period the same way because it gives us information.
Mhm.
Is it following a normal 28-day pattern?
Yes.
Further apart? Is it painful? Is it heavy? Are we getting clots in it? Are we getting normal cervical mucus? Like, all these things that should be talked about in our teens and in our 20s so that we can realize when there's an issue first. So I think one of the first things is saying, is there something?
And how young do you think young women should be going into? Because I mean, I can speak from experience. I've always had irregular periods. I just didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, how young do you think women should be going in and advocating for themselves and saying, listen, this isn't right? I mean, again,
Yeah.
I was put on birth control at 12 years old.
I'm a mom, you're a mom.
Yeah.
And a lot of our generation, the girls are starting to get into their teens and college years. So the conversation, like, I'm excited to be advocating not for just the generation below us, but also for our kids.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
having to them to start asking those questions instead of, like us, you have heavy periods, you have acne. The answer should just be get on birth control.
Yes.
We're pushing back and saying, is there a better solution?
Yes.
Is there something that's causing it?
Yes.
So starting to have those conversations, yes, the microplastics, yes, the environment, yes, the stress. And that's why I get into a lot of that, because it's never going to just be one thing that's causing this. So it's never going to be a one thing solution. But I also want to make sure that a woman understands that it's not about perfection. It's about, what can I do in little pockets? What can I do to reduce my stress every day a little bit?
Mhm.
What can I do to improve my diet a little bit?
Mhm.
What can I do to get to know my body when I'm going through different phases to support myself? If I'm more tired when I'm menstruating, giving yourself more grace to take more sleep or to do those things instead of pushing so hard.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is really getting to know your body.
And out of interest, this sounds a little random, but do you think there's anything to do with women are working more? We are more stressed. We are the other contributor in the household more than we like, as I understand, that it was back in the day. And do you think that has an impact on our menstrual cycle?
It has an impact in a multitude of ways.
Hmm.
So it has an impact in, yes, our stress and the fact that we were told, you're in the workforce, earned it, push, become that girl boss, and stay in it and hustle with the men. And as much as I can understand that,
Oh, listen, we're both working women. I get it.
but at the same regard, we were almost fooled as far as saying, like, push, and our fertility is just always going to be there.
Right.
Or it's a sign of weakness if we're even asking about motherhood in
Right.
our 20s.
Yeah.
And as a result, women, like, not just from the stress of being in the workforce, but also during our most fertile years, we're under so much stress.
Right.
We're grinding, we're working those late hours,
Yeah.
and then we wake up at 30, 35, and we're
Yeah.
like, now I want it to happen, when we haven't been supporting ourselves the whole time.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, or what's one really big thing that you want people to take away from your book?
The main thing that I really want people to take away is that, one, you have so much more power than you think you do.
Right.
And that you don't need to just wait until there's a problem and wait those 12 months and say, well, we've been trying for 12 months. Now I should go see a doctor.
Right.
If you have irregular periods, if you have absent periods, if you have any of those symptoms, have the conversation sooner with your physician so that you can get ahead of it. And one of the best gifts you can give to your future child is preparation. So doing the things now will prepare you so much and make you even just that much better of a mom when you finally get to meet your kid.
Well, the one thing I would say I've taken away from all the advice you've given me is, again, to advocate for yourself. I think that is the biggest thing that you can tell you. Again, I have a daughter, is don't be afraid to say, I need more answers. And the whole journey I've been through, it's even if everyone said to me, listen, it's the end of the road, I wanted to advocate for myself and get every possible piece of information to be able to go, okay, now I can put this to bed. And that's not for everyone. Maybe you go through that journey and there is, a light at the end of the tunnel. Great. But I think women advocating for themselves and saying, listen, something's not right with my body and I want to speak to somebody about it. And I don't care if I have to knock on 20 doors.
Because it's not always going to be that first physician.
Right.
And when I went to my first physician, and they said, oh, you're totally not ovulating, not my issue, and punted me to a reproductive endocrinologist. And then that doctor said, I'm sorry, you have a 10 to 15% chance of getting pregnant without IVF. And broke, buried in student loan debt, thinking about having to spend $40,000 to go through IVF and all of those things just wasn't a possibility. So switching to a different doctor that was ready to go at a different timeline, let me be able to move at a pace that I was comfortable with.
Yeah.
If you're ever feeling forced into something, if you're ever feeling rushed, don't think of just your timeline. Because it's not just, oh my gosh, I have to make this happen as quickly as possible. I'm feeling that biological clock turn on. Give yourself grace to go at the speed that you feel comfortable with and to push until you find a physician that's going to align with you.
I understand that. Well, for everyone out there, you want to tell them the name of the book and where they can find it, please?
The book is called Pretrimester, and the whole concept is there's a first, there's a second, there's a third trimester, but we don't talk enough about the 3 to 6 months before conception. All the things you can be doing for your body, your mind, your life to really prepare for not just pregnancy, but motherhood.
Thank you.
It's available on Amazon and anywhere books are found.
Thank you so much for coming on, as always. All right, guys, see you beyond the map. Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Map. And if today's episode brought a little inspiration to your travels or just reminded you to slow down and savor the small things, I'd love for you to follow the show and leave a quick review. Until then, keep packing light, living deeply, and discovering the beauty that exists beyond the map.